Hello, this is Reece from the PCSA Raspberry Pi Club, and today I'll be doing a video showing you all of the useful commands on Raspberry Pi or any other form of Linux, assuming that you have the necessary software. First of all, I'd like to begin with two handy tips you should always know when using commands on your Raspberry Pi. The first one is that by using the up and down arrows, you can easily switch between commands you have used before and the empty command that you by default have. So when I press the up key, it shows the clear command, which is the one I used last. Press up again, ls, that's the one I used before that. Down, back to clear, down, back to nothing, as we were at the start. Very handy to use if you want to do the same thing twice in a row. Or if you want to do something that you did a few commands ago, you can also use it then. The second tip is if you are using a command and you've got halfway through a word or file name or anything else like that, and you press your tab button on your keyboard, it will automatically finish off that word. And if there are multiple options that it could have been, if you press tab again, it will do the second, then the third, etc, etc, until it goes back to the first one, and then it loops over and over and over. Now, let's begin with the first command. This command is very simple. It is called ls. What this does is shows any files or directories within your current directory. Then press enter, and it will come up with something a little bit like that. As you can see, I have catpi, which is a directory, desktop, which is a directory again, Python games, which is another directory, and last but not least, another directory titled quiz. Now, if I want to create a new directory, then what I must do is mkdir, which is make directory. Then, if I want to title it tutorial, enter, and now I have tutorial. When I do ls again, you can see I have tutorial there. Now, I'm going to open tutorial with the command cd, or change directory. Then I must type tutorial, but because of the tab trick, I don't have to type it all out, I just press the tab button. You don't need this slash necessarily. Now press enter, and you are now in tutorial, which you can see here. The reason I have a mouse is I am not actually recording this on my Raspberry Pi, as you may have seen. I'm recording it on something called QEMU on my Windows laptop. Now let's move on. The cd command has another usage. If you just type cd with nothing followed after it, it will go up a directory. So back to the original place that I started. Now, the next command is one that you will very rarely have to use, but in some cases you do have to use it. It is rmdir, which is remove directory. It only works on empty directories, and it's the only way to delete a directory that I'm aware of that doesn't involve very complex commands. So the way to use this is rmdir, and then the name of the directory you want to delete. So I'm going to delete tutorial, press tab, and enter, and it's gone. Just to prove that, it's gone. Now, let's make it again because we need to use it. Now obviously the tab button doesn't work because as far as they're concerned, it isn't there anymore. Press enter, ls, and there we have it. Now let's go back into it with the cd command, and we're there. Now the next command is one that if you're doing any programming, which I would imagine you were if you own a Raspberry Pi, you will need to use very frequently. It is the nano command. It's used if you want to open any form of programming file, any Python, txt, anything like that will have to be opened in nano, unless you have any other editor that you wish to use, but nano I find is the best, and I believe it is the only one, funnily enough. Now, first of all, I don't actually have any files in tutorial to open, but luckily for us, the nano command, if it can't find the file you've selected, it will automatically create that file for you. So let's create the command tutorial.py. .py is the file extension for Python files. If you don't have the .py, it will just be a normal txt file. Press enter, and it will open up the Nano editor. Mine that I'm using at the moment is GNU Nano 2.2.6, and as you can see, the file is tutorial.py. There's a load of stuff at the bottom that you won't necessarily need, but it is handy to have that in case you do not know what commands you want to do. It will tell you everything at the bottom. Now, we don't really need to worry about any Python at this stage, because you're just beginning to use your Raspberry Pi, so I will just say hi. To save this, I do Control O on my keyboard, and then enter. Now, to close the editor, I just do Control X, and it's gone. But as you can see, you can still see the editor, but it's not actually open because of the little bit at the bottom here. So I am going to now clear this away with the command clear, and it's gone. That's why my text has been at the top, because whenever I use the clear command, it goes up there. It may not do this for you, but it doesn't make a big difference as the functionality is still the same. Now, the next command is to run a Python file, which is simply, easy to remember, Python. This command obviously only works on Python files, and will only work if the Python file is correct. So my Python file that I did will not be correct. Tutorial.py. And because I just did hi, that's not an actual Python script obviously, so it won't genuinely work. But I can still use the editor. Now I can still use the command, but it will just come up with a syntax error. Now, that's the main commands you'll need to use. There are a couple of other ones I'm going to go over because they are handy to know, especially when you get more advanced, but they're simple commands to use. pwd, all it does is displays where you currently are. So I'm in home, Pi, tutorial, and there you go. That's that. And there's one other that I think is worth going over, but I don't think you'll ever need to use it other than shutting down your Raspberry Pi at this stage, which is sudo. On its own, it does absolutely nothing other than comes up with an error message. But sudo grants the user special access to commands that otherwise would be restricted. So let's say I wanted to shut down my Raspberry Pi, I would do sudo halt. Obviously I'm not going to because I don't want to shut it down. But if I were to, then I would do that. There are other commands that you don't have access to without the sudo bit at the start. So it's very important you remember that. Now, I would like to thank you for watching the video, and I hope it helped you. Please subscribe and like, comment if you have any questions whatsoever to do with any of this, or if you think other commands should be on here. And I will be including a link to download a .txt file which will demonstrate all of the commands and show you how to use them. I hope this video helped, and if you do have any queries or other ideas or suggestions, feel free to comment them. I will update the text file in the description so that it is up to date with other commands you have suggested. And thank you for watching, and goodbye.